Welcome to this episode of the Aquarist Edge, a podcast for home aquarists just like you. Learn more about how to keep a thriving aquarium and discover ideas and tips to give your aquarium the edge. And now, over to our host, Arthur Preston.
Some aquarium keepers absolutely swear by them. The favorite cleanup crew, the little helpers that keep ecosystems balanced. Others see them as tank invaders, tiny pests that explode in numbers overnight and cover every available surface in the aquarium. But here's the thing. Snails are neither inherently good nor bad. They're organisms that respond to the conditions we provide. If we understand their biology, their role in freshwater ecosystems, and their impact in aquariums, we can decide for ourselves whether they are friends or foes. So let's start by recognizing the variety of snails you find in a freshwater aquarium. Some of the usual suspects will include Malaysian trumpet snails. These are live-bearing snails that burrow in substrate and aerate sandbeds. They are, however, notorious for booming in numbers when tanks are overfed. Ramshorn snails are also very common. Their shells spiral like a ram's horn. They come in a variety of colors, and many aquarists, myself included, have intentionally bred these ramshorns to add life to planted tanks and provide a food source for various species of fish. Pond snails are known as accidental guests. They are hardy, they are fast breeding, and they're now considered one of the most widely distributed freshwater snails in the world. A favorite of aquascapers for their precise algae grazing habits are the nerite snails. They come in stunning shell patterns, and the best part is that they don't reproduce in fresh water, so there's absolutely no risk of overpopulation. The gentle giants of the freshwater aquarium world, in terms of snails, are the mystery snails. They can grow 5 to 6 centimeters in shell diameter, and they come in a range of colors, and they've been known to demonstrate some rather quirky behaviors. You might see other snails in freshwater aquariums, such as the white wizard, various morphs of the ramshorns, and even assassin snails. And these are snails that prey on other snails, they're carnivorous. But the important thing to realize is this. Every species has its own behavior, benefit, and drawbacks. A nerite snail cannot be lumped in with a pond snail. Yet many beginners simply see a snail and assume trouble. Snails don't just survive in aquariums, they can thrive, and when managed correctly, they provide real benefits. For starters, they can be great algae grazers. Nerite snails are probably the best known here. They will work tirelessly across the surfaces in your tank. They are also good at processing detritus. Many snails feed on leftover food and decaying leaves, and this reduces the risk of ammonia spikes from decomposing matter. They are also able to work your substrate, and Malaysian trumpet snails are very well known here. They can be controversial, but their burrowing prevents anaerobic pockets that can release hydrogen sulfide gas, and so in deep substrates they can be a blessing. One of the often overlooked factors about keeping snails is that they are great bioindicators. If snail numbers suddenly explode in your tank, it usually means that you're overfeeding or letting detritus build up. Snails are nature's warning system. Studies of freshwater ponds have shown that snail populations play a key role in nutrient recycling. In a way, they are the unsung recyclers of the aquarium. And let's not forget, some snails are just fun to watch. Mystery snails, for example, are entertaining in their own way. They've been known to climb to the surface and dangle by their siphon like little trapeze artists. Of course, it's not all positive when it comes to snails. Snails can and do cause problems under certain conditions. Pond snails and ramshorns can reproduce explosively, and what begins as a small clutch of eggs can become hundreds in a month. Now here, overfeeding is the primary culprit. There's also debate about whether snails eat healthy plants. Now the truth is that most species prefer dying leaves, but large populations can graze on fragile stems and moss. Hobbyists, however, often confuse natural plant melt with snail grazing, so always check on that. Snails can find their way into canister intakes or sponge filters. They can die in those spaces and create ammonia spikes. You also might find that there are egg trails everywhere. Now, nerites, while great for algae, will lay white eggs on hard surfaces. Now, because they don't hatch in fresh water, we're not going to worry about overpopulation, but that speckled appearance of eggs simply everywhere can drive some home aquarium keepers crazy, particularly if you're trying to develop a very specific aquascape look. It is also true that some freshwater snails in nature act as hoses for parasites. Thankfully, in closed aquarium systems, that's not really an issue, but it does add to their reputation for some. Let's imagine a scenario. You've just started a planted 200-litre tank. After about a month, you notice a couple of small snails, and you ignore them because they're only a couple. But by week 6, they are everywhere. On the substrate, on your glass, inside the filter intake. What do you do? Well, firstly, and most importantly perhaps, don't panic. Snails aren't an emergency. You also then need to identify the snail. Is it a pond snail, a ramshorn, a Malaysian trumpet snail? Every species is going to require a different approach. You want to cut the food input. A snail population boom usually signals surplus food. If you want to get rid of lots of snails quickly, put a piece of cucumber into your tank or a piece of lettuce into your tank overnight, and in the morning, pull out the vegetable because it by then will be covered in snails. Some aquarium keepers use assassin snails and loaches to hunt down and eat snails. Not suitable for every setup, but it can be done, and often is. You might walk into your pet shop and request help with snails, and possibly they will suggest some chemicals for you to use. Now, just be careful of this. Copper-based treatments kill snails, but they can also kill shrimp and damage plant systems, and long term, they can destabilize tanks. And here's the thing, you have to think long term. You're developing an ecosystem, and snails are more a symptom than a problem. If they're overrunning your tank, your maintenance routine might need some tweaking. Not all snails, however, are pests. Some people see as cherished pets. Now, mystery snails, for example, have exploded in popularity. Aquarists breed them selectively for their colours. They have surprisingly distinct personalities, exploring the tank, floating, and at times even interacting with the aquarium keeper. Nerites are another deliberate addition, especially in aquascape tanks, because their decorative shells add amazing visual interest. So how do you stop your snails becoming a problem? Well, some practical suggestions are following. Quarantine your plants before adding them. If you dip your plants into alum, you can kill snail eggs. Inspect your driftwood and rocks before placing into your tank. And as mentioned earlier, control your feeding. Prevention always starts with us. So let's talk a little bit about some of the snail biology, some interesting facts here. Freshwater snails are part of the phylum Mollusca. They are mollusks, and they have some very interesting adaptations. One that you'll notice as you watch your snail go about his or her business on your glass is that they have a radula or a radula, which is a rasping tongue with rows of teeth for scraping algae. Some snails are live bearers and some lay eggs. Also interestingly, they respire or breathe differently. Some snail species have gills, while others use a lung structure. In ecosystems, they are vital grazers and detritivores. Removing them entirely often destabilizes food webs, which is why in the aquarium, we must think of them not as intruders, but as part of a closed ecosystem. So let's go back to the initially asked question. Friend or foe? The truth is, they're both. Or neither. It depends on the context. What we must remember is that in nature, snails are almost always present. And when we mimic nature, we succeed. The question isn't whether we should allow snails. The question is rather, how do we manage them responsibly? Remember these key points. Identify the species of snail in your tank. Don't overfeed. Use the snails as indicators, not enemies. And remember that some snails deserve a place as pets in their own right. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope it has been helpful to you. If you're listening on our YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell so that you are notified when a new video is posted. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, go ahead and follow us. and leave a review or a comment. It's always good to hear from our listeners. And so until next time, when we discuss yet another topic related to keeping healthy freshwater aquariums, keep learning, keep discovering, and keep enjoying this amazing hobby. Bye for now.
That's it for this episode of the Aquarist Edge. Please consider subscribing to this podcast so that you don't miss further episodes. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast, as this helps make it visible to others. Until next time, keep learning and discovering, and keep finding your Aquarist Edge in this captivating and fascinating hobby.